Okay, so we're going to talk about something called the discriminant, which is part of the quadratic formula. And the discriminant is going to help us figure out the nature and the number of solutions. So the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So you guys should write that down. And if you look at the quadratic formula, it's the same thing that shows up underneath the square root sign. So that's why it helps us figure out the type of solutions we're going to have. So you can't take the square root of a negative number unless you involve the letter I, the imaginary unit, because you can't multiply a number times itself and get a negative. So here's how this works. You have, this kind of looks weird. I'm gonna write that over. So if you have, so again, write this down with me. If the discriminant is positive, it means there are, you can take the square root of a positive number and you get a real result. So there are two real solutions. So in order to tell the type of solutions, you can just look at the b squared minus 4ac. Let me write that down again. If it's positive, there are two real solutions. If it's equal to 0, there is one real solution. And then what I just showed you in that last example is if it's negative, there are two imaginary solutions, and they're going to involve the letter I, the imaginary unit. So these are non-real, and that's kind of a misnomer because they actually are real, but they are not. They're not considered real numbers. They're considered complex or imaginary numbers. Okay, so let's do a couple of examples of how this works. We're going to find the discriminant for A, B, and C and decide what type of solutions you have. So the discriminant, remember, is b squared minus 4ac. So my A here is 1, B is negative 8, C is positive 17. So plugging that into this, we have negative 8 squared. Remember to square the negative, so it's going to end up being positive 64, minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 17. So this is 64 minus 4 times 17, which I'm just going to grab a calculator. Probably could do that in my head, but I'm not going to. So 68. So 64 minus 68 is negative 4. So the discriminant is negative. What does that mean for the type of solutions you have? If it's a negative result, there are two imaginary solutions. So for A, it would be two imaginary solutions. Let's do B. Identify your A, B, and C. You guys do that. Okay, you guys, I forgot to write that over here there are two, I said it but I didn't write it, two negative solutions because the discriminant was negative. And then identifying A, B, and C for part B here. A would be 1, so 1 right there. B is negative 8, so be careful, and C is this constant 16. So we're going to plug that into this. So we have negative 8 again, squared, minus 4 times A is 1, and C is 16. So negative 8 squared is 64. And then 16 times 4 is also 64. So 64 minus 64 is 0. So determining the type of solutions when it's 0, there is one real solution, and that means that it just hits the x-axis, and the vertex would lie on the x-axis. That's what that looks like. So, there is one real solution. And then the third one here, I want you guys to do that one, identify A, B, and C, calculate the discriminant, and then decide what type of solutions you have. Okay, you should have come up with 4 for your answer, which means that you have a positive number. So when it's positive, there are 2 real solutions. So for this part, there are 2 real solutions. Alright, so let's just really quickly look at like the different, why there's sometimes 2 real solutions, 2 imaginary solutions, or 1 real solution. So when you had that b squared minus 4ac is positive, which means it's greater than 0, you're going to have a parabola that has 2 x-intercepts. It can be facing up, it can be facing down, but it would cross the x-axis twice. If you have b squared minus 4ac equals 0, that's a kind of situation where the vertex is right on the x-axis, it's supposed to be touching there, and you just have one x-intercept, and that's if the discriminant is 0. And then you would have, if b squared minus 4ac is negative, meaning less than 0, you'd have something like this that never crosses the x-axis, and that's when you have the letter, or the imaginary unit I involved in the solution. Alright, so this is 2 real solutions. This middle graph is 1 real solution. And then the last one is when it's negative, there are 2 imaginary solutions. You have it means there would be a negative underneath the square root, which is going to cause it to be imaginary. Okay, that's it.